1, 2. 1, 2. One, two. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome, you who approach this time as a journey toward the horizon, the beginning of the next chapter, seeking all the insights and opportunities the new day offers. Welcome, you who live out your values with passion, who have a drive for transforming the world toward gratitude and healing, who are ignited by purpose. Welcome, you who ride the waves of life with serenity, you who show courage in facing the depths of true emotion, you who create and change the flow with time. Welcome, you who are here to seek the center, you who wish to be grounded in community, you who call our attention to the present moment. Welcome all from every direction, with all of your gifts and limits, with all that the past week and the past year have given you. And now please rise as we do our opening hymn for the morning. Come, come, whoever you are.
And there's a descant, so you can sing either one if you want.
Come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
So welcome to the Unitarian Church. My name is Nathan. I'm one of your ministers. I'm so pleased to welcome you today. We have so little to announce, you'll just have to stick with me for this very short amount of things that we have to announce. First of all, we have a T-coil in here, which you may or may not know. If you have a hearing aid, you may know it. It didn't matter for a few weeks because it was broken. It's fixed now. So if you have that capability, you can now take advantage of that. Oh gosh, there's so much. During middle hour today, we are having a branches sampler session if you wanted to be a part of that. And we are also doing Our Whole Lives parent orientation for 7th and 8th grade. Now, here are all of the things coming up in, as best as I can do it, order. In 3 weeks is the blood drive. So if you have blood that you wished someone else had, we will have a blood mobile here for that. The week following that, at the end of the month, is our climate revival. This is something the UUA has put out, and this church is participating in. It's going to be, you'll get more information as it comes sooner, but that is on the weekend of the 28th. Are we good so far? Good. Then the following weekend, we are finishing off our stewardship drive with a art and jewelry sale. If you have art and jewelry you would like to donate, you can bring it sooner rather than later, and we will figure out how to price it, and then it will help raise money for the church. Following the art and jewelry sale on the 5th, there will be an ice cream social and then a jazz concert with your own Minister Emeritus, Steve Crump, along with Bill Grimes, Willis Deloney, and Johnny Jones. And we're going to have, and some church members are going to be singing too. Then you're off for a week. On the 19th, we are having Queer Fete, which is a big to-do. We are bringing in UU musicians who are UU ministers/musicians to come in and perform. We are hoping that people from all over the region will take part in this, so that is October 19th. Then on the 20th will be the the ordination of an intern in this church, Leslie Runnels. That's going to happen in New Orleans, but all of you are invited to it. So that is the evening of the 20th. Leslie, if you're watching online right now, stop. No, really, stop. If you had a connection with her or have worked with her, we have a thing, Leslie, a thing in the office if you would like to sign it. You are welcome to. Okay, you can watch now. She is serving a church in North Carolina, so I bet she's actually busy and not paying attention, but I'd like for us to sign that. Man, there is nothing going on here. Oh, there's one other thing. The stewardship drive is in September because we're trying to finish it up in September. We have gone, this is second Sunday, so we have one full week, and we have raised $187,000 so far. You can be excited, and early success is not an indication of how the drive is going to go. So we have our little, online people, you can't see it, we have a little thermometer. It's up to 187. We need to get to 600,000. Vic, can you convince people to turn in their pledge? Come on up, Vic.
I'll do a little bit more in convincing. Good morning, I'm Vic Cross, and I'm truly honored to be with all of you today here in person, live streaming, and delayed viewing. And I sincerely hope that this day brings you joy. And as a warning, if you see my eyes starting to leak within these next few minutes, it's only because of all the joy filling me up. Let me begin by expressing my gratitude for having this great opportunity to work on this year's stewardship team with Janet Mulder, Jan Darden, Caitlin Dyer, Aaron Rogerson, and Johnny Parker. And jumping right in, the stewardship analogy of our church as an oasis certainly fits my spiritual journey. Although all of our spiritual journeys are different, and we are each likely to be at different stages of our journeys, the fact is our church has been there for me during each of my big changes in my life since I joined in 1996. I've had 3 big changes since joining, and simply put, our church steps up and provides fresh insight on the issues and concerns that relates to my situation each and every time. My latest big change has been my retirement that started a few months shy of 5 years ago. And after 38 and a half years as a production engineer, later an environmental operations manager for a local agricultural chemical manufacturing company, I kind of lost my way, lost my true sense of self and purpose, and started asking myself once again, just who am I now? And while working this 9-to-5 job, that was actually closer to 7 to 5, but my secondary focus for the last 15 years or so has been grief support and bereavement groups. And in the fall of 2018, with the help of the congregational care team, I hosted a grief workshop with Alan Peterson in the choir room right over there. And with this workshop attendance sheet, I was able to start a grief support group here in 2019. And this grief support group, came to a screeching halt along with everything else when COVID struck. It was about 10 weeks after the start of my official retirement. And although our grief sharing sessions with the church have not started up again, our church did host last December the annual memorial candlelight service for the Baton Rouge chapter of Compassionate Friends, which I lead and facilitate. Also last year, I began a 3-year service as a member of the Healthy Congregation Committee, The intent of this committee is to help with discussions between church members, within teams, and individually while maintaining safe space for all. And this year, along with the stewardship team, I was able to be a part of a couple of fundraising projects with the generosity team. I find the creativity that results from everyone working toward common goals is simply amazing. So with all these unique services and programs that this church does, there's one small thing that touches me the most. And many of you may have not even noticed. For you see, this church acknowledges the difficulties that so many of us feel toward the so-called happy holidays. The running joke with my grief friends is the wish to become a bear and hibernate through it all, waking up just in time to eat king cake. But this year, I am determined not to allow my holiday blues to interfere with me submitting my church pledge on time. You know, I now realize the benefits of our pledge process to both the church and to myself. And yesterday, I actually did go online and click my way through the pledge process that Allison has set up for us all. And it was a lot easier than me searching around for that missing envelope, then giving up, and then stumbling my way through the website, which is so easy now. So my hope in making my pledge now in September instead of December, that I won't have those nagging dreams of putting off pledging again and again. But more importantly, I hope to be more ready for when my holiday blues arrive this fall. And I might get to hibernate straight through the holiday festivities, all the way to king cake season, and even, just maybe, without becoming a bear. Thank you so much.
Good morning. So I would like to invite all of you into a moment of quiet or silence and bring you the prayer. So if you'll just take a deep breath with me. And wherever your space of stillness is and receptivity, just kind of rest there while I read you a prayer for desert times. The journey of our lives are never fully charted. There come to each of us deserts to cross, barren stretches, where the green edge on the horizon may be our destination, or an oasis on our way, or a mirage that beckons only to leave us lost. When fear grips the heart, or despair bows the head, we may bend as heart and head lead us to touch the ground beneath our feet. May we scoop some of the sand into our hands and receive what the sand would teach us. It holds the warmth of the sun when the sun has left our sight, as it holds the cool of the night when the stars have faded. Hidden among its grains are tiny seeds at rest and waiting, dormant yet undefeated. Desert flowers, they endure. Moistened by our tears and by the rains which come to end even the longest drought, they send down roots and they bloom. May we believe in those seeds and in the seeds within us. May we remember in our dry seasons that we too are desert flowers. Amen.
We have one card today to sign. It's for a member of this church, Joy Ferreira, who is recovering from unexpected surgery, but is recovering as well as someone can be recovering from surgery. This ritual we have is open to everybody, visitor and member alike. We invite those online to type right into the chat your stone, and for those in person to come either along the west or the east wall, take a stone, let it represent whatever you're working through, whatever's on your heart, place it in the chalice bowl. We now invite those who wish to come forward as we place stones. And we say together, with hope to make this a better world, we light this flame. Its light is the symbol of the power of love.
From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung, through every land, by every tongue.
So I wanted you all to know who Canova is. Just sit there, you're fine. I'll introduce you. You can sit down, don't worry. We did our preaching class a few months ago, and Canova was a participant of it, and she's going to offer you the sermon today. A little funny thing, this is a fight Lee and I have. Sometimes we put joke titles in the worship spreadsheet until we know what exactly the title is going to be. And Lee has actually changed the title on the spreadsheet to, please stop doing that. I don't know if you're joking or not, and I'm going to put that on the website. So I got Canova's title, the working title, and put it in the spreadsheet. Lee put it on the website. Then Canova saw it and said, that's not the title. Even though it is technically accurate in the spreadsheet now, I neglected to tell Lee to change it. So Canova came to our church in 2018, after being a Unitarian in Florida, but she decided she needed more vowels in her state name, and so she moved over here. She is on the Worship Guild, Sixth Source Sharing Circle, and a number of other parts of this church. So I'm pleased to welcome her. For today's shared offering, we are sharing it with the Interfaith Federation. And we're doing it this month because this week on Thursday is the Interfaith Federation's prayer breakfast. It starts at 7 o'clock in the morning, and this church was instrumental in the founding of the Interfaith Federation, and we've had presidents of the Interfaith Board. We have, delegates on their board. I mean, we've been engaged with this ministry for a long time. So for this month, I ask you to give very generously, as this morning's offering is greatly given and received.
This reading comes from Norse mythology by Neil Gaiman. When they had brought the third child and smallest of Loki's children back from the land of the giants, it had been puppy-sized. And Tyr had scratched its neck and its head and played with it, removing its willow muzzle first. It was a wolf cub, gray and black, with eyes the color of dark amber. The little beast was called Fenrir. It was growing too fast. One day, it was the size of a wolf. The next, the size of a cave bear. Then the size of a great elk. The gods were intimidated by it, all except Tyr. He still played with it and romped with it, and he alone fed the wolf his meat each day. And each day, the beast ate more than the day before. And each day, it grew and became fiercer and stronger. Odin watched the wolf child grow with foreboding, for in his dreams the wolf had been there at the end of everything. And the last things Odin had seen in any of his dreams of the future were the topaz eyes and the sharp teeth of Fenrir's wolf. The gods had a council and resolved at the council that they would bind Fenrir.
Good morning again. So with the Preacher Pack, we are encouraged to find a story that we struggle with. And so I had to talk to Nathan several times about what that means and what's the frame and all of this. And so this one came to the surface, and so that's the one that I chose. It is out of Norse mythology, so to those of you who know more than me about Norse mythology through study or practice or some combination, I will go ahead and ask for your grace. This is just how the story hit me. So the gods had a council and resolved at that council that they would bind Fenrir. My first question really was, what drives this binding of potential? And I call it potential because at this point, Fenrir is a child. It's a puppy. And Odin's vision is just a dream. Nothing has happened yet. The answer is fear. It's even written in the story that the gods were shocked when they saw what Loki's children were, but that did not deter them. So I ask you, how do you recognize your fears? Never mind, push through them. For 1 year, 6 months, and 28 days, I went through the process of a divorce. Thankfully, I stand here a free woman, but over those 575 days, I had 5 court appearances, one of which was a trial. I lost 20 pounds in 2 months because I just couldn't eat. And the act of chewing made me nauseous. So to say I have been afraid would be an understatement. Now, all of life's major changes come with both the external and the internal challenges of adaptation. Starting a new job, children growing up, and parents getting older. Marriage and, yes, divorce bring with them the realization that nothing will ever be the same again. Stepping further into that awareness, we also have to accept complete blindness as to what the future will bring. In the story, Odin says, "You must be bound to prove your strength. I will come at you, afraid of what you could be, but I will all the same. My test for you will be a game. You will not know any better. The game will be one you've already played, with kinder folks full of love and care for you. But I will take the game and make you twist and turn, make you writhe and wriggle, because you trusted the game and didn't know me. You will be bound to prove your strength, and though you may end me when all is said and done, I will end you first." How often have you felt that way? Maybe you can see the light in the distance, and you even know for sure that it's coming, but until then, you also know you will suffer. What makes a good myth powerful is its ability to make the knowable relatable, and the larger the unknown, the greater the fear that's presented. Fear can hold you back, but it is also what pushes you in a particular direction. By dissuading movement one way, it drives you to move in another way. Fear is actually beneficial and even necessary for survival when acknowledged and processed in a healthy manner. It gives us a moment to pause, and we're forced to do a risk versus reward assessment before moving forward. My fears through this transformation were plentiful, yet the greatest gift I received is I now understand how fear requires relationship. In order to feel anything about a situation, you must have some investment in that situation, and that investment is your relationship with it. Everything that angers you, that brings you joy, that disgusts you, you're invested in those things. Now, your investment can be personal or it can be idealistic, but either way, you're committed to some degree. And it is the fear of one outcome over another that drives your actions or lack thereof. So, what are your fears? Just think of one and hold it in your mind. Just one. Now ask yourself, what is my relationship to this fear? So much of how I have operated in the past has been driven by diminishing myself in one way or another so that others don't feel challenged or even better, checked. However, reflection requires resistance, and resistance requires courage. But courage does not promise resolution, and courage does not promise success. In our story, Fenrir defies Odin, saying, "You lie, Allfather. You lie the way that some folks breathe. I think you plan to abandon me and to betray me. Rather than question my courage, I challenge you to prove that there is no treachery planned." I mean, did y'all feel that? Like, wow. When I read that part, I think that's what really came back at me in the story. Because if only we could challenge the lies and know that the truth will rise to the top, carrying the righteous with it and letting the vile sink right to the bottom, I think we'd be all right. Situations are often more complex than that, but they don't have to be complicated. A lot of layers and intersections are what make experiences complex. Looking for shortcuts, band-aids, and quick fixes is what makes those same experiences complicated. So during these proceedings, the other party did all kinds of things that I could not understand and oftentimes found just absurd. Like, why? I said that a lot. Why? However, when I really looked at it, I had to put down what I considered nonsensical. Then I could see his values, his priorities, and how they differed from mine. I also embraced that my understanding of his actions is not a requirement for me to continue living my life. That was my resistance. Each of us gets to choose what we value, how we prioritize, what actions we will take, what responsibilities we will honor, and what responsibilities we will ignore. I did a bunch of Googling, and what I liked best for a definition of resistance is a measure of the degree to which a substance impedes the flow. In that vein, resistance can be almost anything. Resistance can be standing up to yell and scream about injustice, or it can be sitting down at a table with the underserved. Resistance can be either holding a picket sign in protest or putting down generational baggage with your family at a Thanksgiving dinner. Resistance can also be listening to an opposing point of view with minimal judgment, trying to understand your them. Not to agree with the other, nor allow injury to your person, but to truly see how they got where they are. Think about your life up to this point. What have you stood for? And when you could no longer stand, who did you sit with? When have you said no more and refused to accept the flow as it was? What does your resistance look like?
Let's rise for this next hymn.
Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire, and have not love, my words are vain as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess, and striving so my love profess, but not be given my love within, the prophet soon turns strangely thin. Calm spirits calm, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love my love within, by this we worship and are free.
Connection as Resistance by Erica Hewitt. In her 1975 theological treatise, Suffering, German liberation theologian Dorothy Zerler examines the ways that suffering can knit human beings closer together and can draw us more fully into the process of loving. She uses the term apatheia, the inability to suffer, to describe the condition in which people become so dominated by the goal of avoiding suffering that it becomes a goal to avoid human relationships and contacts altogether. Isolation and apathy are forms of powerlessness. Both destroy. In Zerler's words, we are destroyed most thoroughly by that affliction that robs us of any possibility of loving any longer. The capacity we need the most is the capacity to keep on loving. If pain and suffering tempt us to become isolated and apathetic, Zerler argues, we must instead give voice to our suffering by creating a language of lament that might draw us into solidarity. The theology offered by Dorothy Zerler echoes that of her rough contemporary, Hannah Arendt, who was a political theorist rather than a theologian. One of Arendt's most well-known assertions from her work, The Origins of Totalitarianism, is that totalitarianism is organized loneliness, and that the seed of loneliness is isolation, the experience of not belonging to the world at all, which is among the most radical and desperate experiences of human beings. Therefore, resisting the isolation that breeds loneliness is not just an emotional, psychological, or even spiritual act, but also a political one. The blogger and critic Maria Popova puts it this way: our insistence on belonging, community, and human connection is one of the greatest acts of courage and resistance in the face of oppression.
So, what is resilience? For Tyr and Fenrir, their resilience comes at a blood cost. At first, the gods snickered, then the gods chuckled, the story says. Finally, when they were certain that the beast, Fenrir, had been immobilized, and they were in no danger, the gods laughed. The story continues to tell us that only Tyr was silent. Fenrir looked at Tyr. Tyr looked at him bravely. Then Tyr closed his eyes and nodded. "Do it," he whispered. And Fenrir bit down on Tyr's wrist. The story of that is that he lost his hand to this deception. Tyr lost his right hand to the friend he had raised from a pup and made no sound while the rest of Asgard cheered at the successful deception. At present, in our country, we have had a few hard years of reflection about ourselves. Every individual citizen has been presented with an opportunity to really examine not just their understanding of our system, but also to look at the beliefs that they carry which support that understanding. And each of us has looked to others for support and reassurance that we are not alone. Even those we might consider hateful and intolerant find resilience in their communities. On top of that, we have a global reckoning to a degree I haven't seen. And our nation is currently experiencing the reconciliation of certain truths about our history with a worldwide audience. And we, the people, are rightly struggling to feel like a unified body behind common goals. This is big. This is both history and the future under floodlights. And it's the present in the hot seat. This is a future that might not have to be a recycled version of the preordained status quo. What is resilience? It is bending but not breaking when we are stretched and pulled and twisted. It is bandaging wounds and carrying on. It is staying visible and honorable when others are taking the low road. It is taking the next small step towards the next right thing. Your pace may be slow, you may be in pain, but you keep moving. Sometimes the most powerful form of resistance is simply remaining. If you can no longer walk, you remain and crawl, and you find there is someone who will carry you. If you go blind, you remain and find that there is someone who will guide you. And conversely, when you see someone who can no longer walk, you carry them. And when you see someone who has lost their sight, you guide them. And you offer your hand when another has lost theirs. One thing resilience is not is stagnant repetition. Repeating the same action over and over again, expecting a different result, is actually the definition of insanity. So when we talk about resilience as remaining, the question becomes, how do you remain? Yes, we may sit through the same parish meetings and legislative sessions year after year, but how are we sitting? Yes, we may attend those dreaded family functions, ready and prepared to be on guard with one particular member or maybe an entire branch of your family. What makes this time different? And if we're carried there, who is bringing us? Living our truth is sometimes the loudest expression of resilience available to us, because resilience requires honor, your honor, regardless of what the other party is bringing to the table. Resilience for me was largely remaining. It was caring for our child and myself. It was showing up for every appointment and really listening to the advice of several financial and legal entities. And whether I liked what they were telling me or not didn't matter. What mattered was I listened and I learned where I would have to accept the consequences of signing contracts with an irresponsible person. It was retelling my side of the story every time I had to, for mortgage servicing agents and lawyers and judges and therapists. It is in leaving the door open for family members should they choose to walk through it for Annabelle's sake. Resilience was moving out of our house into an apartment with wonderful neighbors, but a lack of pest control, shoddy maintenance, and rental increases without any upgrades to where I live. We've also had 3 different management companies in less than 2 years, so there's that. It's currently watching those same neighbors move one by one, knowing that our day will eventually come. My resilience has largely been deciding what I needed to do and only doing that. My resilience was in not worrying about what I could do or should do for anybody else. And my resilience has been sitting in all the things that have been swirling about me that I pushed down or pushed away. Some things for just the 10 years that I was with my ex, and others for most of my life. The behaviors and thought patterns that left the door open for someone to enter, manipulate, and discard. And my resilience is finding my voice in the quiet chaos of the deafening silence where years of gaslighting left me to live. Culminating in this moment right now, standing here before you guys. I have been carried by my family, my friends, and the church when I felt empty. I've accepted guidance from my counselor as I relearn how to trust myself. Now, what I delivered at the end of my time with the Preacher Pack was not this. And I must thank Reverend Nathan for facilitating the space, as well as Brian, David, Emily, and Nicole for sharing the journey with me. And I don't know if what I'm bringing is up to your standard or if it works inside of your expectations, but what I do know is it's mine. This is my voice. What about you? Where's the seat of your resilience? What does it look like? Is it in your throat? Is it in your hands? Is it in your mind? Your heart? What about your feet? What is the seat of your resilience? Does it use words? Is it your hand holding somebody else's? Is it the way your feet sharply pivot when spirit guides your steps? How do you greet your resilience when it comes to visit?
So this is our hymn of the month. This is the first time you're hearing it, so Lee's going to play it, Jeff's going to lead you, and then you're going to sing it. It's a really pretty one. And come on and rise if you feel it.
When they try to divide us, it will only unite us. I lift my voice. When I lift my voice, let it be in song, a defiant note in the face of wrong. I won't rise alone, we'll be side by side, 'cause we know that love is always justified. When they try to divide us, it will only unite us. I lift my voice. When I lift my voice, let it be for good. Let me care as much as I know I should. I won't rise alone, we'll be side by side, 'cause we know that love is always justified. When they try to divide us, it will only unite us. I lift my voice.
To Be Resilient by Tim Atkins. When I was a child in Georgia, we took a field trip to a nature center called Oxbow Meadows. At the time, I didn't know what an oxbow was. I just knew I totally loved the name. Later on in life, that as a river flows, it will erode its banks over time. What might start off as a little divot erodes and erodes until it forms the classic river bend. Oxbow refers to this kind of U-shaped bend in the river. And an oxbow lake is when the river has eroded the bank of the bend to the point where it cuts off from the main stream. Think of it like cutting a line across the top of a U. Well, what happens to the bottom of the U is that no longer getting access to the running waters of the river, it becomes an oxbow lake. There are so many spiritual lessons in the natural world, and in a season filled with ingatherings and water communions, this is one for me. Oxbow lakes as a beautiful combination of resiliency, strength, and flexibility. It takes a long time for an oxbow to form fully into an oxbow lake. The water doesn't care. It just keeps going. If there's something in the way, water will bump up against it and then go around it. If water was too rigid, it wouldn't be able to flow down the banks of the river. But we all know about the strength of water too. Water can do incredible things, incredibly beautiful things, and incredibly destructive things. Running water can be the strongest force in our natural world, breaking down rocks, digging out Grand Canyons, swallowing an entire island. It's this strength that helps water erode the walls of the river, eventually forming the oxbow. We often think that strength and flexibility are opposite sides of the same coin, but they are united with resiliency. You can literally move the earth. Resiliency, united with strength and flexibility, creates beauty in the world and creates new spaces for life to flourish. In this time in my life, at this time in our history, I need this kind of oxbow resiliency more than ever.
Each person weaves their own reality, and they can choose how they tint their glasses, black them out entirely, or something somewhere in between. Whether good or ill, it is in our power to make our choices about our responses to things that happen in our world, as well as what will determine those choices. Fear happens, and it will always happen. It's normal, it's natural. But what do you do with your fear? Will it motivate you or hold you back? What is your relationship to the things that you fear? I mean, that's really the key part. We all know we're afraid of something, but do we know why? Because if you don't know why, then how are you ever gonna not be afraid or at least learn to sit with the thing that scares you so badly? Do you see challenge for growth or an obstacle to contentment when you're facing your fears? Will you put words to your fears? Will you give them a name? Will you sit with them and learn more about yourself than you ever thought possible? And if you don't like what you see, do you know that it is in your power to change that? Not bind it, but change it. Know that you are capable of resistance and that it comes in many different forms. And if you ever forget, know that you can look to the person next to you or somebody on the other side, and that they have probably felt the same way you do right now. The digital age has made us simultaneously the most connected and the most isolated group of human beings in written history. But here, in this place, we are together. Here we are a hand to hold and a person to walk with on the journey. There might be a meal to share, but there is always coffee. So you know that you are not alone in your struggle. And in that is my hope that we create that well for resilience, because that is a cup that constantly needs to be refilled. This is my father and a baby Annabelle. Through him and my mother, I came from both resilience and excellence. They taught me to recognize fear, and they left me to decide what to do with it from a very young age. Their lives were a model of living resistance, and I worried for years about disappointing my parents, especially my father, which I suppose means they raised me right, because I cared. I don't really know, but it was tough. What a mixed bag it was for me in my 30s to finally understand that my life was now, had been, and always will be my own. And that in understanding this, I finally gave my dad the thing he always wanted from me. In closing, I ask you this: what holds you back? What drives you forward? Where are the connections that you need to keep going? And if you don't see those connections presently, what would you like them to look like? How connected are you really to your passions and your causes, and where do the two overlap? Own your fears and sit with them. It is uncomfortable and it is its own breed of scary, but man, it is worth it. The sitting is the first resistance. And you can feed your resistance by forming the kind of connections that can carry you when you need to be carried. Those kinds of connections take time to form. So, do you have the spoons and a place to start? And if not, how may we be able to help? Every question doesn't need to be answered. They just need a place to sit until you can answer them. And that place is here, in the healing well of resilience, where the strength of our diversity here in the Unitarian Church of Baton Rouge shines forth, bathing the unknown in the light of relationship and community. Thank you.
Let's sing. If your body lets you, I invite you to stand.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the dark night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Hear the song from deep within you. Heed the song of peace in your heart. Spring's beginning will lead to harvest. Love will guide us on our way home. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the dark night.
May you leave this time together changed. May the promises you have made to yourself about who you want to be feel closer to the reality of who you are right now. May you share that feeling of transformation wherever you go. May it spread into every word, deed, thought, and interaction until we are all changed, transformed, and transforming together, becoming our better selves. Amen.